when I called out Elon Musk on Twitter a few months ago, and he seemed to agree with me, one of the few times that he actually replied, that he is too important and too busy to call out Wall Street Journal on their bad journalism, and I still stand by my comments. However, I am not too busy or too important to do that. In this week, I feel like it is my job because of the editorial that they've published a few days ago. And I really thought this type of articles are a myth nowadays, where, people, it almost looked like whoever wrote it was in a coma for the last 10 years and just woke up, and the first thing they did, they're like, I'm going to write an article about electric cars. And that's what it came out to. So I'm going to go over this with you and see where they've gone just a little bit wrong, and see if your blood pressure goes as high as mine did when I read it. So you might want to set your coffee aside, and we're going to do this right now. Welcome to E4Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click on the subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so the Wall Street Journal is not really a friend to the electric car community and everything, but it is a journalistic publication, and I really expect, even though with some bias, some sort of a balanced opinions and some facts. That did not happen in this article, and it came out September 2nd, so 3 days ago. And you do have to be, I think, a subscriber to see it. So, but I'll go over some of the quotes. I'm not going to give you the whole article, because there's really no need for that. It's called "Subsidize My Electric Car, Please," and it underneath, as you can see, it says automakers want Congress to expand this gift to the affluent. It's right from the beginning. I know we're in trouble here because whenever something comes out, whether it's an iPhone or a car, and I don't mean electric car, I mean like a car, someone rich and a bunch of rich people have to buy it, and because the new technology is always expensive. And then if it sticks, then the rest of us common folk can start getting, iPhones for free that we can do right now, where in the beginning it was like the record amount of dollars you would pay for the brand new iPhone. And thank you to all of those people who bought them so we can have them now for free. So just kind of yeah. All right, so now let's dive into some of the quotes. I have 11 here. 2 of them I agree with. So we're going to start with the one I kind of agree with, and it says, the great myth of political subsidies for business is that they will help the industry get started and then go away. Well, I don't know why it's a myth, because that's kind of what design is. Does it always work? No. And yes, it could also be a myth because, the oil and the farmer corn subsidies that we still have for these giant industries that have been around for decades and decades, that kind of does prove that it might just be a myth. So I think we agree there. But this is where things have gone wrong. So they go on saying, Washington has been underwriting EVs for nearly 30 years, which is a long time for an infant industry. Again, even if that was true, it's still longer than the subsidies for, corn industry and oil industry, but 30 years? I'm sorry, the first really an electric car that came out in some sort of a mass production, and I use that word really loosely here, was a Nissan Leaf, and that was 2011. Teslas haven't really ramped up their production until 2014. So what are they talking about for 30 years? That's all. And here's the thing. I would have loved to have some sort of a reference here. Tell us what were the subsidies 30 years ago and what electric cars existed 30 years ago to subsidize. Use your references and stuff, Okay, so let's go the next one. Okay, so the current EV handout was part of the 2009 Obama stimulus. And they're doing the stimulus in quotes. Listen, I understand you guys don't like Obama over there, and that's fine. This is not a political conversation, really, but sorry, I'm allergic to BS apparently. So, but it was designed as a stimulus. It was bipartisan stimulus, and actually it kind of worked because I think our economy did much better in the years past that, right? So, and secondly, I really have a problem with the word handout because I don't think you understand how a tax credit here works in the United States. You should look it up, but I'll tell you. So it's not that someone's giving us money from the federal government to buy these cars. These are tax credits. So these are the taxes. This is your money that you get to keep because you're buying a car and a technology that we want to be out there, because it will help us breathe, it will help us with so many other things, and that's what the government is for. But it's your own money. EV tax credit is no different than the tax credit you're probably claiming for your child or for your house and so many other things. It is the credit. It comes from your money. If you pay no taxes, then you don't get anything back. So this is not the money being handed to you. It's just you getting to keep a little bit more, just like with kids and houses and so forth. Things that we kind of accepted. And this is coming from somebody who does not have kids. All right. So now we got that straight. Let's move on. They're saying an Ernst & Young study estimates the expansion would cost taxpayers nearly $16 billion over the next decade. All right, I'm gonna assume you went with whatever study had the highest number. But even if we go with that one, the Oil Change International study, and there were quite a few others, estimated that the oil industry is, and I think the study was 2015, 2016, in 1 year, the oil industry got about $20 billion in subsidies. I think 15 of them came from the federal government, and the corn industry got about 20 billion subsidies. So, and that's over 1 year. You're talking about smaller amount over the next 10 years. So, where's the article about the other stuff? But I'm just putting this in perspective. That would help if you were, a good journalist. All right. Then they go on to say, it's hard to imagine a more blunt income transfer for the well-to-do. Because they're saying, people who are using these subsidies are usually well off. We already gone over that. Is any new technology for it to make into the masses, rich people have to buy it first, let it survive. It doesn't always, and then it goes to the common folk, like myself, right? All right. Also, again, it's not a transfer. It's a credit. It's right there in the name. It's a EV tax credit. You get to keep your own money. No money is being transferred anywhere. Anybody can qualify for this. Anybody who pays federal taxes. So, and again, if you want to talk about the blunt subsidies, oil, corn, I got a list for you to research and make all kinds of articles about that. So now let's go to the statement that I once again agree, and this is the last one that I'm going to agree with. Before that, of course, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byton. Check out their all-electric SUV called Ambite, coming to the US and Europe in a couple of years. That time is going to be extended more and more, the more people reserving them, and there's over 50,000 of us, because it takes about 60 seconds, mainly because there is no deposit you have to put down. So to reserve your Byton today, go to the description of this video and do it right now. All right, so now let's talk about the quote that I do agree with, and it says, electric cars are significantly more expensive than the average vehicle, with a starting price of around $36,000. Okay, I mean, the starting price is about under $30,000 because that's Nissan Leaf, but okay. It's true. Electric cars, just like any new technology, and I can go iPhone and whatever else we want to, the very first car was absolutely unaffordable for like 99.9% of people. That's how the world goes around. But I agree with that, granted. Now, they go on to say a recent Congressional Research Service study found that nearly 80% of the credits were claimed by the households with adjusted gross income of more than $100,000. That is correct, but most of them were, I believe, in California, as they say in the next paragraph, I think more than half, or about a half, and for many reasons. And in California here, honestly, $100,000 is not that much money. Before I moved to Sacramento, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, relatively average in Silicon Valley, and it was $3,500, and it was very cheap. Just to give you a perspective what California prices and Silicon Valley prices are about, where most people are buying the electric cars. So, but yes, granted, we need rich people to get us affordable technology. That's just how it works. All right. For years, automakers complained that California's EV mandate forced them to sell cars below cost. Well, no, they forced them to sell cars that don't poison our children, your children. I don't have any kids, your kids. And the reason the manufacturers lost money is that because they didn't want to make them, they made them in small amounts, and because of that, they couldn't figure out how to make profits on them. That's why it happened, not because California made them. They could have done better. They're still struggling, but they will. All right. They go on, and this is talking about the Trump administration easing up the regulations, and they say yet automakers are resisting the Trump administration's regulatory liberation. Well, you can't have it both ways. Are the automakers hating on this California law regulation or not? Because if they're not, and thus it looks like they're fine with it, because they're resisting the opposite, right? So how you guys, it's literally in the same paragraph there. Bit of a reason missing there. All right, okay, so let's go on. But then why shouldn't these states pick up the subsidy tab to fulfill the mandates that they're imposing? Well, because that's not how it works. The role of the government, especially local government, is to make sure that, for example, we have air to breathe, just like they ensure our safety and health. That's what the government is here for. And by not allowing manufacturers continuously make cars that poison us, and again, your children, they're just doing their job. And probably, if we're asking questions, the better question would be, why shouldn't these automakers pick up the tab for all of the lung diseases and all of the related diseases that that a lot of people acquire because they were breathing this crap? How about they pick up a tab of us fighting wars overseas, where the oil comes from that their cars run on, and so forth and so forth? There's a lot of good questions to ask. This one is not one. This is not a good question to ask because it's just a fallacy. So let me get to the last one, and it says none of this will have the slightest impact on the climate. First of all, not true. There's tons of scientists who say otherwise. I know guys don't believe in science and stuff at the Wall Street Journal, but it doesn't make it any less true. But also you have to understand, electric cars are not just good for the climate. The reason I bought my first and all of the other electric cars have nothing to do with climate. I actually thought we would be able to save so many lives by not fighting our wars overseas where the oil comes from. That's number one. Number two, I thought that it's just a better technology and it makes better cars, which is also true. And people have many other reasons why they buy electric cars that have nothing to do with climate. So you kind of have to understand why we're doing it and why these electric cars are better. So, all right. Well, I should have probably be hooked up to the blood pressure machine and see how I did here. But I can feel my brain is boiling. I don't understand why. I'm gonna post a Twitter post about this, so hopefully, if you guys watch it, please go to Twitter, find my account at C4Electric, and maybe repost it or retweet it at them, so maybe they can watch this and reply to us, all of us, about what was this all about. But I'm kind of sad that this is still being talked about out in the open, all this just blunt lies about electric cars, and I'm definitely not. I'm definitely sad about this. But looking forward to your comments about it. Let me know if there are any other pieces of journalism I should look into, and maybe I'm wrong somewhere here. Let me know if my reasoning or my logic here is flawed. Before that, don't forget to participate in our wealth distribution system, where you can support this YouTuber for only $5 a month. You'll be able to provide him with food and shelter and video equipment and press passes just for $5 a month. Also, you get to watch him live. That's a bit of a perk. So go to patreon.com/E4Electric. That's in the description of this video, as well as the link to sign up for our free. It's the second free thing in our description of this video, which is our newsletter, a weekly newsletter, where we send bonus articles to you every Saturday. So check that out. Also, the link is in the description of this video. All right, let me hear your opinion, and I really do hope you can retweet my tweet that I'm going to post right after I post this article. All right, looking forward to your comments. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.